seeing as my first G.I. Joe video did super well, I thought I'd go ahead and talk about the next G.I. Joe movie, G.I. Joe Retaliation, since I'm still into G.I. Joe. I've gotten more figures since last time. I got the new G.I. Joe Duke, G.I. Joe Classified Duke, it's a really good figure. Got the Baroness, I got Lady J as well. I also got this Ultimate Super 7 Cobra Commander, which is a really cool figure. I like this one. He's still my favorite G.I. Joe character. And I got this G.I. Joe Classified Series Roadblock on Ricard before that, started to suck. And fun fact about Roadblock is that he is actually the star of the movie we're talking about today. Actually, that's a lie. The star is Dwayne Johnson. He plays a character named Roadblock, but it's really just Dwayne Johnson. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, let's talk about G.I. Joe Retaliation. It came out after G.I. Joe The Rise of Cobra, did pretty well. And with this one, apparently they wanted to make it more of a soft reboot so that people who haven't seen the first one can at least understand what's going on. So it does follow some of the same, things that were left off with that one, but it also has like a brand new set of characters that you can follow, and it's all fun and everything, I guess. But the weird thing about this is that like soft reboots are usually done with when either a franchise specifically is like not doing that well, like the movies aren't financially successful anymore, so they want to try to revamp it, but still like try to keep some of the stuff they established, or if the franchise has been going a little bit stale and people aren't liking it as much, so they just want to try something new, but again still keep the stuff that they set up before. Think like what they did with I guess sort of the Transformers movies and the X-Men movies. But this is not even a full franchise, it's just 2 movies, and like the first one, well sure, maybe not critically was amazing, but like they still probably could have jumped off what they had started there and just continue on, but no, they decided, oh man, let's just make the next one a soft reboot. I don't know why. It just feels weird. Like I said, I know it wasn't like critically successful, but it's still like that hasn't stopped other bad movies from getting sequels that are actually follow up on what they started in the first one. But whatever. Maybe it's at least a good soft reboot. It wasn't, but I had to say that to sound somewhat positive. Also, this movie is directed by John M. Chu, who directed Crazy Rich Asians, In the Heights, and the upcoming Wicked movie, and also that Gem and the Holograms movie that I know everyone hates, but I haven't seen it myself, so I can't comment on that. But I like the first 2 things though, so that's something. I don't have much else to say that on the fact that he directed this movie, just that he did. Okay, so the plot. Hate this part, is it kind of follows what the first movie set up, where Duke is, still part of the G.I. Joes, and he's still played by Channing Tatum, and he has a new friend this time, Roadblock, played by Dwayne Johnson. And I gotta fix a mistake I said in like the first video on the first G.I. Joe movie. I said that when I was talking about which G.I. Joe characters they put in that movie, I said Roadblock when I meant to say Heavy Duty. That is my bad. I got the names mixed up. That was a goof on me. Roadblock is actually in this movie, and he's played by Dwayne Johnson, like I said. And he wasn't in the first movie at all. Again, very sorry I got the name wrong. And where's Ripcord, the friend that he had in the first one? I don't know. Where's Scarlet? I don't know. Essentially, a lot of the characters that were in that first one, not here. And I guess Duke got some new friends. He just abandoned Ripcord, but if you're friends with Dwayne Johnson, why not? Sure, abandon Marlon Wayans. They're good buddies, Dwayne Johnson and Duke. But something happens. Spoilers. Duke dies. Yeah, the main character from the first movie, they just kill him off in this. And it was a attack from Cobra, who framed Dwayne Johnson and some other characters who I'll talk about a bit later. And now they are enemies. They are wanted criminals, and they're the government is all like, okay, we gotta catch these Joes, and Cobra uses that to their advantage, all that stuff. And so they gotta figure out how to stop Cobra while also clearing their name. All great stuff, I guess. Like I said, I've never been good at describing the plots, and I don't really like doing it. So, on to what I actually do want to talk about, which is the other things around the movie. Things like the characters. Alright, so, Dwayne Johnson is in this movie, and he plays Roadblock. He plays the famous G.I. Joe character Roadblock, who has been in a lot of versions of G.I. Joe. But here, I don't see him as Roadblock, and that could be a factor of things. I'm still relatively new to the G.I. Joe franchise, while I've been learning a lot about it and wanting to buy more of the figures and wanting to really deep dive into the G.I. Joe stuff. I can't say I know every single detail about what these characters are supposed to be like, but a big reason why I can't really buy Dwayne Johnson as Roadblock in this is because he just kind kind of plays it like he plays his other characters in so many of his other movies. Like, if you've seen the Patrick H. Willems video on like Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds, you know that Dwayne Johnson's roles can kind of mesh together, and he kind of just sort of plays the same guy. Like, I think Dwayne Johnson is a good actor. He's acting good in a lot of stuff. Like, I've seen him in, you know, he's great in Moana. I like him as Maui. I don't think I need a live action Moana. Please don't make that, Disney. But, you know, I liked him as Maui, and I really liked him in the movie Pain and Gain, best Michael Bay movie. But here, he just like plays like, oh, that cool action hero. Everyone respects him and think he's like the best guy in the world, but he also has a mission to do, and he's willing to do anything. But also, he stands by his friends. He's a role model, and it's like, you know, it's like that kind of, you know, Dwayne Johnson's just that guy, you know, right? Like, the perfect hero action star, and we see him play that in a lot of other movies, and here it's just kind of the same, especially when you consider the fact that, like, you know, the first movie centered on Duke Channing Tatum, and he's not even in this. They just replaced him with Dwayne Johnson, and he's like, I gotta avenge my friend. I mean, like, okay, that's great, but like, I don't really care like that much, because like, this guy is new to me. I don't know who this man is, and like, I'm supposed to believe that they had this big friendship, you know, that was really powerful, but like, you know, it was only in the movie for like a little while, and like it's just like, oh, okay, I'm suddenly supposed to be invested in this, and in you, Dwayne Johnson. I'm sorry, I just can't. And that especially shows with like how he acts with the other characters, Lady J and Flint. And those two I'll talk about a bit later, you know, what I think about them. But like here, they essentially just follow Dwayne Johnson. They got nothing to them. They just like follow him around. Like, he just automatically goes like, all right guys, I know what to do. And then they just like follow him, follow his lead. He's like the leader. And like, I guess so. If I was in a situation where I was stranded and Dwayne Johnson was there, I would probably just follow his lead. But like, still, these guys are military people. I'm sure they have ideas on what to do, but like, they just kind of have nothing. They just are like following him around and like help him out. So no, I that was kind of funny, I'll admit. It'd be like, okay, yeah, sure, these two highly trained military people, yeah, they just gotta follow. They just gotta follow Dwayne Johnson around. Yeah, sure, why not? And Flint and Lady J are, honestly, I don't have too much to say about them themselves, because like I said, most of it just kind of has them following like Dwayne Johnson around. But like, they have some things, I guess. Like Flint, all right, so Flint, from what I can tell, from what I've been learning about the G.I. Joe franchise, he is a really loved character. He's a fan favorite. Some people think he's like super cool. Some people think he's like the best G.I. Joe character, and has like, you know, like they like him more than Duke, honestly, and go like, oh man, stories around him are the best. Some people probably even want to do weird sex things with Flint. I don't know, but like, you know, he's a fan favorite. But here, he just is like a guy. He just like doesn't have much to him other than like just following him. Like, I don't even know what his personality is. Like, I cannot tell you. Like, I can tell you what his personality is in other stuff. Like, I've seen a little bit of the G.I. Joe Renegades cartoon, which I also want to talk about that in a little bit, but we'll see why. But like, you know, I can tell you his personality in that, but here, not really. They sort, like, I know that in most stories of G.I. Joe, like, he and Lady J have a sort of relationship, you know, like a romantic relationship, and here it's like kind of hinted at, where he like kind of just like looks at her as like she's changing into like an undercover outfit or something. Like, you know, he's like, oh man, you know, he finds her attractive, isn't that something? But like, I don't know, when it comes to romance, I feel like I need more than that. But like, yeah, so that's kind of in there, but it's only for one thing. For one scene. And Lady J, again, also just kind of someone who follows Dwayne Johnson around and like doesn't really have much say in most things, but she does have this one thing that like she talks about how like when she was young, her father was like you know, part of the army, but didn't really believe she could be in the army because she was a girl, and you know, stuff like that. And like, it sort of comes back later with another character, which I'll talk about a bit later, but it's like, you know, it's kind of it to her. She's just like is there following Dwayne Johnson, and then goes like, oh, man, you know, my father didn't believe I could be in the army, but it's not really explored all that much. So, you know, there's that. Someone who returns from the movie is Snake Eyes, and also we have Jinx in here. I quite like Jinx from the things I've seen in her other G.I. Joe stuff. Why can't I speak? She sorta is someone who like trains under Snake Eyes to become a ninja, and she's in this movie as well. I kind of don't remember much about her, if I'm being honest, so I don't got too much to say. She's in the movie at least, so that's kind of cool, I guess. And Storm Shadow's also in here, and I guess he sort of works with Snake Eyes a little bit. If I'm being honest, I don't really, the stuff with Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and Jinx is not that memorable, which is a shame because they're like awesome. They're ninjas. Come on, that should be super memorable. But like, no, it just is not that interesting or engaging, but it's in the movie, so I'll give it that. And of course, the villains. Storm Shadow is a villain, but he's working with the heroes for the most part. So I'm just gonna talk about the villains in this. We got Destro, I believe, back, but not the same actor. And actually, no, he's barely in the movie. Like actually, he's something that they set up in the first one. Nope, he's just in like one scene, and then they just kind of leave him behind. But we got Snake Eyes back, not Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which is kind of a shame because like his version of Cobra Commander wasn't like he is in other versions, but it was interesting enough that I was just like, you know what, I would follow another Snake Eyes like that. But like no, here we just kind of got like a generic villain, no goofy evil voice or over the top eccentricness. He's just like he's evil, he's a terrorist, I guess, you know, and his like design is, I guess, better looking than what it looked like in the first one, where I guess it looks more like Cobra Commander in, you know, from most interpretations of G.I. Joe, where it actually has the mask and everything like it's supposed to be, but at the same time it just looked kind of bland and kind of boring that I'm like, I don't know. The first one had some interestingness to it. Like, it was like not good, but it was interesting to look at. Here it's just like, oh yeah, I guess that's closer-ish, but like it's still not that interesting. There's actually one more character I want to mention, and it's someone who they got a big name for this, a big action star. In the movie, Dwayne Johnson goes like, all right, I think we need some help. We need to go to the first ever Joe, the first ever G.I. Joe. And that character is played by Bruce Willis. You guys know Bruce Willis, the action star? He's in Die Hard. Die Hard's a great movie. I love Die Hard. And he's in this as the first ever Joe, and he helps them out. And he sort of has like this thing with Lady J, where like he sort of ties to her like little thing about like how she like doesn't like how her father didn't believe she could be in the military because she's a woman. And he sort of acts sexist towards her, or at least that's what she thinks. Like, I don't know. Look, I'm gonna like, please don't hate me for this, but like the way they do that whole subplot where like he kind of is representative of like her father, and like, you know, he is, I guess, sexist towards her. It doesn't really come across as that in the movie. Like there's like a scene where he goes like, hey, can you pass me that pen? And then she goes like, I don't pass pens, I'm not a secretary, or something like that. And I'm like I don't know, like, it just like, don't hate me for this. It just kind of seemed more like it was an overreaction than it was like him being sexist. Like, it's just like, I don't know. Again, like, if they really wanted to do that, then I feel like they should have done a better job to show off that he's sexist and like just ask her for, because like, I don't know, when I first saw that, I did not take that as him being sexist. I just thought of it as like he's just asking for a pen, bro. And then later on at the end of the movie, when they save the day, he salutes her and goes like, your father would be proud, I served with him, and like stuff like that, kind of like, I guess, bringing an end to that. And it's like, you know, okay, there's that, you know, so he was sexist, sort of, I guess that was supposed to be him being sexist, and he helps Dwayne Johnson out, but like, you know, he's played by Bruce Willis, who was in this movie, which I can say because I saw him, he was in this, and I don't know what else to say other than that, but yeah, Bruce Willis, he was in the movie. Have you guys seen Die Hard? Die Hard's great. Action is alright, you know, like, it's serviceable. Like, I've seen better action in other things, and it's like, the first movie had some action scenes that I was just kind of like, oh, okay, I guess that happened, but it also had some ones that I thought were legitimately really fun, but here it's like, oh no, it's like, it was fine, it was serviceable. Same thing for the acting, like, none of it was terrible. Dwayne Johnson kind of plays a roadblock like he does a bunch of his other characters in like a lot of the action blockbusters that he's in, but like, you know, it was fine. The other characters like acted fine, but like there was nothing to them. There was like no personality, and like yeah, it just kind of seems like your generic fun blockbuster film, I guess. But I will say this though, there are parts of the story that I do think were kind of interesting. There was this aspect of like the Cobra trying to take over the world using like, you know, hold on, wait, no, start over. So there's a big aspect where like G.I. Joe is framed, like the G.I. Joe team is framed, so the government is after them, and they need to find a way to clear their name while stopping Cobra, and you know, all that stuff. And I was just like, okay, that's kind of cool. G.I. Joe's kind of fighting against the government for a little bit, seeing themselves as renegades, but then I remembered, oh wait a minute, this is just G.I. Joe Renegades, but like not as good. And it's like, G.I. Joe Renegades, honestly, possibly my favorite G.I. Joe cartoon, like that I've seen of the ones that I have seen. I've seen a few episodes of Little of the 80s show and a sort of anime one, but like, Renegades is honestly my favorite because I think that's an interesting concept of like the Joes running away from the law, trying to clear their name, while also stopping Cobra, who are like, you know, trying to take over the world and everything. And like, I was just like, okay, yeah, that's like, you know, that's kind of cool, and like, it would have probably been cool in a movie form as well, but here it's just like, I don't know, wasn't too interested in it. It just kind of made me want to go ahead and finish off G.I. Joe Renegades. I should. It show's pretty good. Yeah, I quite like it. And so another thing I do not really particularly like about this movie is that it just feels kind of generic and boring. Like the first one, I said in that video that it kind of felt like your typical blockbuster actiony film in the same vein as somewhat in the same vein as the Michael Bay Transformers films, or at least the first one, because I've only seen that one and the second one. I've also seen Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast, but those aren't directed by Michael Bay. But like at the same time though, it was still kind of fun. Like it still kind of felt like, oh, these were like your typical like action blockbuster characters, but like they kind of had this sort of cheese to them, this kind of corniness that I kind of enjoyed. That I was just like, I had a fun time here. Yeah, sort of, but like it doesn't feel like it has that corniness. It just kind of feels like I'm watching like your bland action stars, right? Doing your bland action star stuff, and like I just wasn't that interested. And like, well, I do admit the story. I like the idea of the story. Them trying to be, I guess, against the government or not against, but like running from it for a little bit to try to clear their names. It just reminded me of something better, that being G.I. Joe Renegades, and it kind of made me want to watch that instead. But like, the movie wasn't terrible. I'll give it that. Like, I didn't have a terrible time watching it. I just wasn't really that engaged. Yeah, I don't know what else to say other than G.I. Joe Retaliation was a movie, and it had Bruce Willis. Great action star. Have you seen Die Hard? Anyway, yeah, that's what I gotta say on this movie. I'm gonna see what other G.I. Joe figures I can buy, and I'm gonna see if this video will do any well. Probably might get even less views than the first video. I don't know. Point is, I'm gonna go buy more stuff.